Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is, I almost forgot. Today is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. And as you see, I have the privilege, I can talk this morning, of having in the Java Cafe, actually, like literally here in the home studio. You see the little setup behind her, the Java Cafe, and her melanin is just popping and looking beautiful and wonderful this morning. I have the great Nia Grace in the building with us this morning, and I want to ask you to do me a favor. Hit that share button and invite others to be a part of the conversation. And so we're here this morning for a few reasons. And one of the reasons is you all know I'm adjacent to the hospitality industry. And Nia has taught me a lot. And we have had some conversation about one of the ballot questions. But we're going to talk about that toward the end because, one, this is sort of a, and Nia's going to try not to smile too much. This is sort of a retake for me from the live. From the live we did at Grace by Nia a few months ago on Tech and Things Were Interesting, but we're here today and we're really good. And so Nia, first of all, I've been running my mouth. I want to give you a chance to greet the folks and say hello and good morning and whatever you want to say to them. And let me see. And your greeting with describing the state of the hospitality industry, specifically within Boston, in one word.
Well, good morning. Super happy to be here. Glad to be back. Glad to always support James or Jimmy, as everyone else knows him. So sorry.
That knows you go way back, or that shows rather.
And then, I think it's interesting that you talked about the state of Black or hospitality in Boston. Is it Black hospitality or just hospitality?
If you want to do both, hospitality in general, and then maybe do a deeper dive in if there are any differences in there, but we don't want to go fully into the context yet because we'll get, you and I, we can get off track. Yeah. But however you want to do that one word and we can get context.
I will just say that the hospitality industry in one word is shifting.
Shifting. Okay. See, so in my briefings, and I tell people all the time that, we have a flow and then it depends on their answer. And so I'll stay here for 30 seconds. When you say shifting, and we're going to talk about the liquor licenses and things, give me some context to why you say shifting.
Well, ours is an industry that's always going to have, I think, highs, different lows, whether it's volume. When I'm thinking about the business side of it, I'm thinking about ownership in a way as well. Thinking about opportunity. We've had some limited opportunity in certain spaces with hospitality before. We've got more. And so I think a lot of the entire industry, whether it's your personal business or as you look at it on a whole, is just simply moving. And, I don't know. There's I don't have any, let's say I definitely don't have a crystal ball to tell you where we're going with it right now. But there are some interesting avenues that are happening right now. And I'm happy to talk about all of it.
It is when you talk or that answer made me think of a post that Senator Liz Miranda put up the other day. I don't know if you saw it. She made a reference to the fact that when she used to be a promoter, they would be put out of spaces for hip hop and whatnot. And now, we have multiple choices. Just a quick response to that. Someone that's been in the industry for a while, where you were still just in a different location, the spot where people would take Black visitors, Black folks that would come in Boston. How does it feel now to see that we have all these options, that it's our music, our food, and how does that feel?
I'm happy, right?
Yep.
I love options. I think everyone does. I think that it shows the vibrancy of our city
The shift.
beyond,
Yep.
I mean, but it's that's part of the shift. It talks about growth. It talks about opportunity. Like there's so many emotions that come from there being, 5 years ago, there was about 9 places that you could go to
Right.
that you knew were, and what I like to say is, our spaces are open for everyone,
Yep.
but when we create the space, we do it with us in mind.
Yep.
And so a few years ago, there was maybe about 9 places that created things with us in mind. We've got a couple of dozen now that are doing so with us in mind.
Yep.
And, I'm so excited that when people and Black folks come to the city talking about where can I go for us, I used to have a short list. And now I'm saying, take out your pen, your paper, your notes, whatever, because I got a real list for you, right now. So it's cool. It's exciting.
Let's talk about, when people come into town and you give them that list, and I don't remember the exact word, but I know it includes experience. You say that you were an experience strategist or curator.
Like
what is that term?
Architect.
Architect.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So tell me about that and a little bit, just a recap of when you were on before, like what led to you being this like experience architect? Because it is an experience, no matter what the brand or what the concept that you're involved with, like there is an experience.
Yeah. I mean, I think what drives a lot of people in business in general is that they were looking for a solution to a problem. And therefore, they either, seek it and they don't find it. They then think about creating something. And so, as a business operator, I am creating the things that I seek and I enjoy. And I love full sensory experiences. And so, when I walk into a place and it has an aesthetic to it, and sometimes I can walk into a place and it's got a particular smell that I love, and then my eyes is kind of filled with be it the art on the walls or the people in the building, and then the sounds are going to impact me. And if it is a dining establishment or a food and beverage establishment, I'm looking for a particular kind of bar program. I'm looking for cuisine that is not atypical as well, right? So I am excited by giving people a new moment. You can go to, and this is no shade, but you can go to McDonald's every day and get exactly what you want, the way you want, how it's been, right?
Yep.
It's going to be standard, and that's what you want. And what I want you to do when you walk into my places, and if you come 5 times a week, I want you to have 5 different experiences, all good, hopefully, every time you walk in. And that's just what I value, what I enjoy. And I understand that that's what people really want to do with their time, especially when they choose to go out,
It is, I have to give credit to the fact, okay, you use the word bar program. I have to be honest. We joke about this. You've influenced my ability to interpret an experience. A lot of people have been out with me, kind of know that, if things pass the 2 or 3 minutes when you're sat that, and me, I'm sitting around going, things like that, the bar program, the hospitality, the intentionality of every concept. What you just said about being an experienced architect brings, I won't say stress, but similar to me, you have these faceless IG accounts and you have people behind brands. Your brand is you and you are your brand. May not be the whatever vernacular, but I wanted to start off, as I always do, with people of your caliber that is so public facing, and you can tie in where you want here. I've seen some critiques and stuff online or whatever, and how is Nia, not Grace by Nia, not the architect strategist, but how is Nia doing just as a person?
I think like everyone else, this is I'll say for me personally, it's pretty a difficult time just in general, right? We have a lot of things moving all at the same time. I mean, overall, I'm happy, I'm well, right? I've got a lot of joy, I have a lot of blessings. But I think I also have concerns, right? I'm still concerned about, my neighborhoods. I'm concerned about, our city and our country's future. I'm concerned about business, as it stands, and what will it look like in 3 to 4 months. And, I'm always wondering about me personally, I'm also always wondering about, well, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
And so that's concerning too, because sometimes some people tell me I should probably like stop and, do too much, but I'm still concerned about it. I want to do a little bit more. So
Nia knows why I'm taking a sip here.
Have a good time.
In that context, I want to play something for you. The other night, I had the opportunity to serve as one of the media sponsors for 826 Boston, and you received an award. And I'm going to try to do this in a manner that Nia can see it. But hold on for 1 second, guys. I think I got it. She gave an awesome speech, and let me just see if I can. A little different setup than that. I need her to be able to see.
Hello. Listen, she told me I got about 30 seconds, and so I appreciate that. Good evening. Listen, I know the room is already warmed up. I just want to say I apologize for being late, but I'm so blessed to be here. I appreciate the honor. I have to thank my good friend, Corey Yarbrough. I appreciate your team, your board of directors. The work that you do is critical, and it's personal as well. I remember actually being, I'll be really quick. I remember actually being a neighbor of 826 Boston when they came to the neighborhood, and I was still working at Boston Neighborhood Network. And this is a night of 1,000 stories, and I've had at least 1,000 stories, at least, right? And so this is one of them, and I didn't know what the Bigfoot Foundation was sitting on the other corner, and I'm like, what are we doing here? But it got me excited, and it got me to know about the organization, and it was such a treasure and a pleasure to hear that you are leading that. And I could be here tonight to share in this. And so if you give me a little bit more time, just a little bit. I am a daughter of Roxbury. That is the geographic center of Boston, if you didn't know that. And that's significant to me. And for that, I am also a social entrepreneur. And I choose to spend a lot of my time investing into people and to community. I am also an experiencce architect, and that's what you'll see in some of the spaces that I encompass entrepreneurially. Grace by Nia, Daryl's Corner Bar and Kitchen. I'm a social philanthropist in that way, but at the end of the day, I kind of stand as a beacon. And I say that not ego-driven, but I say that I stand here today as a young lady that I needed to see when I was growing up to let me know that what I'm doing right now is possible. And so I'm just so honored to be that beacon that Jimmy translates to a change maker. And I thank you. I'm grateful, and that's my topic.
All right, everybody, we're back. Tech worked. Excuse me for 1 second.
Oh, thank you.
Because Nia, you watch, and sometimes things don't work the way I want them to. I wanted to play that intentionally because what you just said, being from Roxbury, being from this community, you captured that and talked about that here. And so in the context, of how you're doing, it is amazing to see the journey. If I'm correct, I'll try to do a quick synopsis, which lends to your ability to be a experienced architect. You know what you're doing. And when there's a concept in mind, there are concepts, and there are smells, there are flavors, there are arts, there are you go after all the senses. Even the only one I'm not sure of is feeling, or it could be in the seats. It could be, okay. So let me back up a little bit. That experience architect is informed by sometime in the hospitality industry that was not just food and things. The Spirit of Boston, and then maybe, and I don't know why I always say this, but did you ever wait? Did you ever serve? What was, okay, so serving, and then went into some aspect of doing social media promotion and marketing for Daryl's, and then went to manager, and then purchased it. And then, okay, I got it right. And then, okay. And so then went into a partnership, and now you're on Seaport, like the only Black woman, huge Black business on Seaport, which lends into a couple of things. It is, if I am right, I describe it, well, I'm going to be honest with you. 3 words I use: Miami is speak easy with a New Orleans type of flair. Miami-ish, speak easy.
8 words. I just wanted to.
I didn't get myself one word. All right, we're about to have some fun. But no, Nia, with that, my mind can't negate that. How can I frame it? Everybody may not have the experienced palate or the palate for a particular concept. I'll frame it like that. Talk to us about the intentionality of the Grace by Nia concept, and just when you talked a little bit about what's next, just that experienced architect. I just, last question on this part, because if I have the opportunity to see some of the behind the scenes, and there are the what's the things that you put in the house to get them get the house stable.
Foundation.
Well, after the foundation, there's the foundation. Then there's the things that hold not pillars. Sometimes people jump in the concept. The cornerstone. What the long metal thing? The there's a word for,
The beams.
The beam. Yeah. Thank you. See, architect. Okay, so then there are the beams. There's the, speed it up a little bit. There is the encasing. There's the sheetrock. There's the lighting. There's intentionality behind your concepts. And so how do you measure what you know versus feedback from public sometimes that may not appreciate the full concept?
Well, I want to first give a little shout out to my good friend, John Borders IV. And what he said to me is that, everybody can't see vision. Everyone doesn't have it. Everyone, cannot interpret it.
Yep.
And that to me is, it gives me a little bit of peace, because, sometimes people don't realize how large the vision is and all the facets that make up this big picture.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people don't understand, that as you get this big picture, and you were talking about building a house and all the elements it takes to build the house, as well as all the contractors that you'll have to bring in for X, Y, and Z. So here's the big vision. And then here are the layers, the subcontractors, and then here are them beneath it. And who is the person who is monitoring that every step along the way? And, that's a large burden, but that's what I do.
Yep.
And I'm never afraid of any feedback. And to me, all feedback is critical.
Yep.
And nor do I profess to say that every product that I put out there is perfect. Right. But what I also know is that the products that I do put out there, again, this holistic vision of what it is, we might not score the best here this day, and we might score higher here, but overall my averages are high, and I'm fine with that part. But, everything it's a work in progress. And I know that there are people on their job every day that are not getting it perfect every day. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing for me. And every day I look to figure out how we can be better. Yeah. And that is, that's a charge that comes from me, my partnerships, everything. Like, we're leaders who just want to get it right and want to get it better. And the most critical feedback that I can ever receive is absolutely from, our customer. And to be fair, if you work with me, I always say that my customer first is the people who work for me. Right. They're the ones who see it first, understand it first, and they've got the first buy-in. And then after that, it's the additional people who come through the door. And I want to make sure that I'm satisfying you, because I want you to keep coming through the door.
Absolutely. And Nia, this experienced architect, this is a good experience for me right now, because when you talk about, and we might go back to at some point, y'all, me and Nia might banter just a little bit. But you mentioned those that work for you. Very honest and full transparency. We had a conversation about question 5. And I got to admit, and I want to take a moment here to share with folks, how can I frame this? That I wish this was after dark. when you have the opportunity to go into spaces and either it's a discount or bill or no bill or whatever, one thing that you taught me was when that courtesy is extended, what I would like for you to do, not just here at Grace by Nia or Daryl's or whatever, is to compensate the servers and the staff. That's something, Nia, that I mean, it's a hard practice, and it is. I mean, I only say this because I see the impact about where we're going to go with this. Some of your staff is literally on the way out the door. Yo, Jimmy. Yo, I don't want to imitate because you might have an idea who it is. Jimmy, thank you for X, Y, and Z. And so that's something I just want to say to the public, that the servers and the wait staff and the bar staff, it's important to tip them when you're in that service. And so, Nia, in that vein, there is currently a ballot question that we will have the opportunity to vote on November 5th. And I just want to do just a quick overview of what this question is. And so there are of course, when you are voting, you have the option to vote yes or vote no. And so on the side that is vote, and let me get this right, because sometimes it's confusing versus what your yes does, and who's doing the yes and no. Okay. So on the yes side, there's an entity called One Fair Wage Plus, leading the campaign in support of question 5. There are a couple of senators that are proposing this. And what they said is thousands of tip workers in Massachusetts are leaving the restaurant industry and are not willing to return without one fair wage. And nearly 250 Massachusetts employers are now paying one fair wage to recruit staff and seek a level playing field. The time to pass one fair wage is now. Then you have the committee to protect tips, and they're leading the campaign in opposition to the initiative. The Massachusetts Restaurant Association, full transparency of the entity of which you're a part, correct? Opposes the initiative. Steve Clark, president and CEO of the Massachusetts Restaurant Association, said if this ballot question passes, it's going to impact 3 tiers. It's going to impact the server themselves, who's going to make less money. It's going to impact the restaurant owner, who's going to have higher costs, upwards of $18,000 per tip to implement. Wait a minute, let me back up and read this, because I did the overview the other day and this goes a little more extensive. Let me go back to that sentence. It's going to impact the restaurant owner, who's going to have higher costs, upwards of $18,000 per tip employee to implement this. And it's going to have a higher cost for the consumer because costs are going to necessarily be higher. And so a simple sort of approach to this is that a yes gradually increases the wage of the tip employees until it meets the state minimum wage in 2029 and continues to permit tipping in addition to the minimum wage. A no vote opposes gradually increasing the wage tip employees until it meets the state minimum wage in 2029. That's a lot.
It is.
And you and I have I appreciate, our friendship, and we've had some pretty deep conversations, and you and I move towards, appreciate, understand, promote, believe in, push equity. There's a few things. Okay, before I get into that, because now my leg is shaking, and the overview is one thing, and now looking at this like this, and I get to see, Nia, I got behind the scenes from you to Georgie to now. Hi, Rob. We go hopefully be sitting here soon. I see. And then just, there's this thing they say, starving artists, but the wait staff often is heavily impacted by some limits on their salary and whatnot, and presumption that everybody understands 20 and up. Because some, you'll appreciate this. I remember back in the day hearing some of our friends who believe in Jesus as well. So, I don't give God no more than 10%. So I'm not leaving anything more here than 10%. So I've seen the impact. Nia, all of that to say, first, in your layman's language, what is the impact? And I'll be very fair, as you said, to the service first, and then we'll talk about ownership, and then we'll talk about women owners and Black owners. And what is the impact from someone who sees and knows and has been in this and been a server? What's the impact of a yes on this initiative?
Well, first say that when you poll, well, let me first say this too. The One Fair Wage crew, they're out of California. They are not privy to standards and standings here in Massachusetts the same way we are. And then for those who are in Massachusetts and what we're talking about, if you talk to our workers, 95% of them do not want this ballot to pass. They're voting no because they are absolutely happy with what the current standings are. And so I think a misconception that people have is that, there is the tipped wage and which has a baseline and then you get tipped on top of that, and that any of our servers are walking away with less than $15 an hour, which is what our current minimum wage, correct? And so that's a misconception. Most of our servers, bartenders, our tip staff are in fact walking away with 30 to 40 to sometimes upwards of $80 an hour. And they are making significant more than the person who's working at the counter somewhere else at a different kind of establishment that's not a tipped wage. And so I think that that's the first thing. And so what is that directly going to do to somebody, myself who used to be a server and, at other days, if I ever picked up a second job or a third or whatever, fifth job in addition to these businesses, I would always go serve again, right? You're going to decrease, like people think that you are getting the minimum wage plus 18 to 20% tip still. You're not. In places like California, Washington, D.C., where it has been approved and been working for some months, people are seeing, and servers particularly, are seeing tips averages of 5 to 7%. Right. And so, you're significantly, drastically, in fact, cutting. And in some areas, people are not tipping at all now because they think that $15 is enough as a minimum wage. Good.
A couple of things I couldn't get I'm stuttering, Jesus. I couldn't get the pen to work because I want to keep the questions in mind. And so, one, how we are in Boston and in Massachusetts, that, if you ain't from here, that's one thing that stands out about this initiative. Two, it's a very different, if I'm correct, it's a very different climate when it comes to service in California versus here. Seasonal impacts, different things like that. And so a very practical thing that I thought of as you were talking is, okay, ratio, I may be off a little bit. One server has, I don't know, 5 tables. And if they're tipping the way they should, and it's a slippery slope of saying this because now, we got to do better at supporting others. And if they're coming up, let's help them come up. But, if someone gets 25% off of 5 tables on an average of, I don't know, $250, that's a lot of money. I don't have the calculator out. That people can still do that if that's if unfortunately, if this passes, but there is sort of, we already talked a little bit about a mindset that people may not, tip or whatever. And then to have this out there like that, the impact of the influence of this passing is huge.
Yeah, it's multi-tier. Like everyone thinks that this is just a bill or a question for the service industry, just the workers, right? And just the tip workers at that.
And let's go into this.
Again, not only would the minimum wage be raised, but now tips are in the hands of ownership, and ownership gets to decide how tips are going to be split. And so for the person who, serviced your table directly, who you think you might be tipping out, whatever that percentage is right now, that tip they will collect physically from you, but it goes to the house. And the house is now able to decide if they want to split that amongst the back of the house. And if they want to put some of that towards admin. And then, maybe the residual gets to come back to the server who serviced the table. And so you really take that. You kind of take that autonomy out of the server's hands. And there is actually a little bit of, I would say pride in being a great server who can, really prove that to ensure, prompt service, my tips are coming to me, right? Because I made sure that I was on top of everything. Yeah. And like, I was a server who it didn't matter. I would see some of my teammates have bad nights. Mm-hmm. And I said, really? Not me. I'm proud of what I did because I took particular care of my guests. And I think that that's what people have to realize, that that's what our industry is built on, taking particular care of our guests. And you kind of will strip that of everyone. And so I talk about the different layers and the people that it's going to affect. So again, our service do not want this, right? And at the end of the day, somebody who comes from out of state to tell us what they think is going to be best for us, when the people that you're trying to affect literally say to you, we don't want it, that's who we should listen to first. But now, too, I come to you as a customer. As a customer, as long as you're okay with your favorite chicken wings from wherever, insert wherever, right? As long as you're okay with them going from, $12 to $24, I'm okay with that too, because that's what's going to happen to you as a customer. We're going to have to make up this base wages some way. And that is going to look like increased pricing across the board. So you're in New England and you're visiting and we need tourists, but every lobster roll is now going to be, instead of $30, every lobster roll is going to be $60. Welcome to New England, right? Because that's what's going to have to happen. We're going to have to, again, increase our base wages to make up for this deficit, or make up for that 18,000 plus per person to pay for. So as a customer, please expect that your situation is going to change too. And it might not just change on the cost. When you walk into my restaurant next, you might see that black bucket at the door, and that black bucket is for you to bust your dishes at the end of this shift, right? Because it's a shift, we splitting the costs now.
And
right?
that's not unseen. There are some concepts that they put the bucket there,
Well, I mean, just imagine,
I don't see that happening.
But my point is, imagine dressing in your finest, and when you walk up to Ms.Nia, it says seat yourself. Well, I mean, I had to make up that cost somewhere. So find any table and get seated, right? And when you get seated, you see that, the lovely QR code, or maybe there's a tablet, order from your table, because the person coming to your table, we don't have that anymore. And I'm gonna make sure I point out where the service bar is so that you can pick up that drink that you just ordered. And this is my point about, these are the impacts, and people don't understand large vision and operation and all the small pieces that make it tick. And so best believe customers are going to be impacted by this. And then that third group to be impacted is absolutely going to be ownership. And at the end of the day, I feel like ownership of restaurants in particular, we are pretty selfless in that we wait until there is absolutely a small bit of profit left to finally say, are we going to profit share, or are we going to pour that back into the business? Everybody and everything gets, and it's not a woe is me kind of thing. That's just how our business is. A lot of us don't have built-in salaries for the work that we do to make that business tick. And so our first and foremost, we are absolutely taking care of our staff, and we're absolutely taking care of the things that our customers needs. And then anything left, we might get a drip of. But what does that mean? Here we are, 4 years past the start of the pandemic, where we're coming out, we're still coming up. We're in a real kind of tumultuous financial time right now. In markets, again, like DC, they've seen a loss in 4,000 jobs and 30% loss of restaurants who were open since this new tip credit has passed, right? Or this new minimum wage when fair wage has passed. And so that means that people are losing jobs and people are closing businesses at a rapid rate.
So let me ask you this. The minimum wage raising is coming in 2029. What is the difference? And this is just a real time thought. What is the difference of this in 2029 with this ballot question?
Well, I mean, what you're talking about is particular jobs, particular industry, and that's not necessarily our industry. And so we're already, if you do not have a quote unquote tipped position with our restaurants, you have a minimum wage or higher or better salary, right? Like so that doesn't, I mean, we are on board with that. We've done every single increment that has happened in the last 5 years as well. We're on board with that. It doesn't really affect us in that way.
So what I understood in real time based on your answer was that this law not passing codifies that even in 2029, at the minimum wage that some of you all have already implemented, 2029 just keeps going as it goes.
It keeps going, and we keep being in compliance. Because again, what I say to you is, if at every point in time, and I don't know, again, I've got restaurant owners out there who are maybe listening, and they'll know what a shift that was about 4 to 5 hours that really made not enough money, and you've got to still pay every single person at least the minimum. We, you know what I mean? We are already in compliance and making sure that the minimum is met.
Mhm.
But what people don't understand is our industry, it allows people who are, you know, learning skills, getting better skilled, fully skilled, to earn great wages. The restaurant industry is one of the top industries that helps to feed the middle class. It is one of the best industries that helps to see African Americans and even assume management positions, right? So, I mean, they're doing that. We're doing our job, and so what we're asking is for an opportunity to make decisions like this for our state and our state by ourselves, and not with the input of someone else coming into it.
There, I want to go to the comments a little bit. One, what I had mentioned, critique in real time. I'm sure you'll go back and look later and,
I mean, you can tell me
respond.
about it now. Okay, I'm fine. I'm open. I'm with it.
And this, sister moves in love and his intention, but it wound up developing into a conversation. And when I saw my mama comment, respect the platform, I had to go research a little bit. So the eyebrow went up a little bit with this, but then also what I'm learning from you. So what I'll say is just that, similar to some critiques we've seen online before, that's what it is. I want to state no disrespect. I want to stay focused on the servers. And so Nia, with your answer and everything, and Chip is on talking about Teach Nia. And I don't know, Angie Walker. I'm not sure if you know.
Oh yeah, that's good royalty right there. Shout out to Sonny Walkers and that family, Mia and Angie Walker.
Okay, so Mia, as in related to the Mia from
Mia McKelvey
from Haley. No, not that Mia. Okay. So, but what she's saying is, no matter who it is, she's saying this is a tough business to be in. Between cost increase, spoilage and theft, it is very difficult to stay in business. Keep up the good work. Lots of folks think of you. Open the doors. They will come. They will, but they will. Will they come back? Oh yeah. Forget about liquor liability. And we've had some talk about that because we had to, as you did, make sure somebody was good one night, but it got on our radar because he was being a little disrespectful. Sorry, that's the brother in me. So let's talk about, and you can speak either your experience or in general with your, and we can often Sister Latrell's in and said we can also Latrell Chase said we can over critique as well. And so,
I don't know. I know you want to, and I just hope that the point is very clear though about ballot question 5, that, operators, customers, and servers that this one is supposed to help are adamantly saying no, right?
We're going to go there.
But I think your point about, critiques, everyone deserves a critique. Everything deserves a critique. I think that but what people should really know is that I'm my worst critic, right? Like, and you don't, and that doesn't, and you don't know me. Most people don't know me personally enough to know how hard I am personally on myself and everything that happens. And what you got to understand is that it's my business, and that that harshness can't actually really trickle down so much to my entire team, because they're there to work and be in an environment that is uplifting, right? And so you've got to deliver some messages in a way. But if I were to needle in on every single thing, like no one would want to work for me. You know what I mean? That's a thing. But I think that critiques help us grow. I'm not afraid of them. I think Jimmy, you're trying to protect me right now in this conversation. When I look at my reviews on Google, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of any person who's on this. And in fear, what I mean about that is that it takes a certain type of fearlessness to sit here as an entrepreneur in the first place. And so in order, I surely can't shy away from a critique on Google, on a Facebook, not on my 7 rooms or open table, and not even in person. So if you ever see me out in public appearances, make sure you roll up on me and tell me about it then too, because it's only going to help us get better. And I think that that's what we're supposed to be doing out here, whether it is professionally or personally. You're supposed to always do some kind of, internal retrospect and catalog of what could be better. That's it. I ain't perfect. No one on this call is, no one on the live is, no one in chat is either. So I'm cool. Hope that helps. Hope that helps.
To know you is yep. I feel my face get ready to turn a little bit pink. And so one, even with that, and we're going to, end on some good notes when we finish with this ballot question at the end on the Black Joy, and we have to employ that just as a side note, because public facing, you and I share something very much, and I don't know if Nia, as much as we've talked, I don't think we've ever articulated between the two of us that the similarity of your name, my name, your brand, my brand. Have we ever? All right. With that being said, part of your brand is the employees. Part of your plan, I know, because you also not just the employees, and I thought you was going somewhere else with this, with picking up skill sets. You also want to see people ascend into positions. One, you want to see people ascend. Two, it's hella helpful to you because they come up under your brand, they know it, and you fill, some of those positions that we know, post-pandemic, as you referred. I want to go to you as a woman, as a Black owner in this city. And the impact on ownership. We see the 18,000 per person on average. Nia, off the top of your head, how many servers do establishments employ? Varying.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have an establishment that's, capacity of 100 to 300, let's just say, that's a good range. You can have anywhere from 30 to 75 employees, making sure, and that, then you can multiply that about how many family members each they have and right?
So that's the impact. That's you went back to the service. I asked that question specifically because as an owner, you would now have to factor in, and on average, 18,000 now per server. You are also faced with every night, or your GM, well, how are they going to divvy up, the thing? Does such a waitress come? There was, one of your staff one night had a death in the family. Are they rightfully so, humanistically? Are they influenced that tip is split, with the job that they do? Maybe not the GM, the best example. But my point is that there is a significant more impact on businesses that are owned by women and people of color, and let's say specifically Black. We talked about the impact on service. Talk about the impact on you and people like you.
Say it again.
Talk about the impact on people like you, being an owner and a Black woman, and people like you, including men. So your Hughes, your Georgies, your Luthers, your businesses in general. What is theip on the business and the owners?
In terms of this question, right?
Yes. Heck yes.
I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have to be even more creative with how we are going to save jobs, because that is going to have to be one of the things that we do. How we, make more money, and the more money is again to compensate for what we, in addition to the wages, but also to compensate for the change of supplies and compensate for increased insurances and like all of that. And then, make hard decisions like, is this worth it? Right. And so if everybody wants, their favorite restaurant, if you were to type in what your favorite restaurant is right now, and let's get that long list together. If everyone wants their favorite restaurant to figure out, is this really worth it? Right? Can I do this some more? Or we would just be gone. Like that's kind of where we are right now. That's the kind of situation that some of our businesses will absolutely have to make, that I just can't afford it.
And with let's taking it back, we're going to get ready, get ready to wrap up. With the shift that you talked about and that long list that's now created, do you agree with most of the impact if this thing was to pass? Would, what is it that when America catches a cold, Black America catches the flu? Would it be that more than likely the greatest impact of a yes on 5 would really, the hardest trickle down would be on
yes.
women?
The answer is yes, unequivocally. And I say it because of the size of our businesses, right? So in some instances, our businesses might be just a little too small in order to to bear the brunt of that increased wage
Yep.
or the increased expense if we don't have the capacity to have increased profit.
Got you.
You know?
Yep.
So if we don't, and I was telling somebody this the other day, I was telling her another restaurateur, I love her, Bessie King, Villa Mexico. I said, we have to be so diverse in our operations that, you know, we need another revenue stream. No longer is it okay for me to open up my doors at 5 p.m., have the bar ready, have the kitchen ready, and say, let's go. You know, I've got to be a consultant in some way. I have to do catering. I've got to figure out, how do I take the experience from outside the restaurant building that I pay for? How do I bring it to you? Because I need that revenue as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just have to continue to figure out. That's what we'll have to do. That'll be our burden.
I you know, when I asked it, posed a little bit around that question the first time, he was like, wait, Jimmy, it was one of those moments where I gave a whole bunch of context and confused it a little bit. But that second time, you were like, you don't even need to finish asking. Like, unequivocally, it's going to have a disproportionate impact on women in Black and brown owned businesses.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of how our society is. I mean, we're talking about even just a fraction, you know, how many Black owned restaurants are in the city of Boston, greater Boston, right? How many of them have licenses, right? And so how many are full service, right? And what we're really talking about are the full service restaurants.
Okay.
And so for the ones who are, you know, quick service and are trying to graduate to that moment of full service, this is undoubtedly going to say, I don't want to do it no more. Clearly, I got to, you know, stick with the formula that I got, because all these people make this restaurant run, and people got to understand that.
To Teresa's point that she's saying here, all of the behind the scenes accounting, increase, insurance, payroll, like you're going, knowing someone like you would have some Excel sheet that would have date, who was the manager, what was the total, how was it divvied, and that's more work. You know what I mean? And so something as you know, some people say, oh, that's easy, just whatever. No, there would be a lot more behind the scenes things that would happen if this thing passed. And so we're going to post later information where you can get, and am I biased on this? Yes. And so we'll post information. We'll post information later on where you get information about supporting the no, and maybe just to be a little, I'm not a journalist, but maybe, well, no, I'm not posting no information about the yes, because there is inequities if this thing passes, and they're not from Boston. So I'm not going to turn this to an after dark. What is next for Grace by Nia Brandish first, or Nia? And I want to be intentional, Nia, because they're not one and the same.
Yeah.
There, you know, there's Nia, and then there's, you know, Nia Grace, Grace by Nia, and the brand and whatnot. So however you want to answer that, I'll keep it simple this time.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, well, one, if you don't know, and you're looking for a quick trip down the road, Grace by Nia opened a second location at Foxwoods Resort Casino in Connecticut. It's a 90-minute to 2-hour ride, depending on who's driving.
Hold on. And an easy Uber. Uber's never cost more than $130. Go ahead, Nia.
Oh, man, easy Uber. If you like me, you might get on the train. So yeah, you know, that's something I think for Nia personally, you know, I again, in my personal network, I talk about retiring, and it's a semi kind of joke. And what I really mean is that I love restaurants. I love creating these spaces. I want to continue to do more. I want to, you know, continue to build partnerships that allow us to multiply the spaces that are designed with us in mind and curated with us in mind. And that is, like, I think, going to be my passion until I'm done. Right. But what I talk about this transition for me is that I really want to focus on mentorship, and I really want to be that business aid of encouragement to young women and men and whoever desires to go into business for themselves or in partnership. And I believe I have acquired a lot of information, and not just by being an entrepreneur, for which I've been a serial entrepreneur since 2015. But I do believe Bay State Banner was one of the first newspaper outlets that did an article about me when I purchased Daryl's Corner Bar and Kitchen in 2018. And the article was titled "Business is in Our Blood." And to me, you know, I want to just note that both my parents Richard Boville, Denise Grace Singleton. They were both entrepreneurs. And I didn't realize that, that I got it really naturally. My brother, Lord Grace, who you'll also see at Grace by Nia.
Shout out to the good brother,
Shout
Lord.
out to the good brother. He also an entrepreneur. And I had a chance to watch some really great examples in my life of people who knew how to take their passion and serve with it, because that is what I think my family, was really about. My father had a t-shirt shop and a record shop. And if you know me, music is what drives me. My mother, was or is still a trained artist. Her medium is paint, but she would also make the t-shirts at the t-shirt shop, again, to serve people, to help brand people's businesses. My brother, spent 20 years in the grooming industry, and what better way to say you love yourself by taking care of yourself, in the grooming industry. And again, this is service. Like, we'll stand on our feet. It'll be that, I remember I tell this story of, how I knew how I had to operate. And this was well before I was, again, doing this for myself full time. I would see my brother go into the barbershop every Monday at 7 a.m.
Lord Cuts?
He used to.
Oh.
Okay. Ann's barbershop in the South End, Lord's on Humboldt. So I would see him go into the barbershop every Monday, 7 a.m. Significant to me because the barbershop is closed every Monday. And so I'm like, well, why are you at the barbershop every single Monday at 7 a.m.? And it's because the work still had to be done. And so he's cleaning from the week before, doing the deep clean. He's getting the supplies ready for his barbers. He's doing whatever runs that he needs to make. And he's operating in the background, and people don't see that, just to better serve people.
Yep.
He's fixing the thing that he couldn't get somebody to fix. And I remember that, and I took that with me and did the same thing and do the same thing right now. People would often ask, how come y'all are at Daryl's on a Monday for 8 to 10 hours? I was like, we're getting it ready for the rest of the week. You know what I mean? And that's, and I think that people really need to understand that. So for me, what's next is continued service. And I just want it to look different, or at least be able to serve in more markets.
It's seeing some of the journey, being on sort of a peripheral church and stuff around for some years is one thing, but in these past few years, having the opportunity to see Nia in Grace by Nia rather, or in other spaces has been amazing. I love you much. Recently, you taught me a valuable life lesson, and yeah, we want to talk about that.
What was the lesson?
No,
what was the lesson, James? We got 4 minutes, so tell us the lesson.
I'm doing my switching of the desk next Sunday, y'all. Not today, because Nia will not. All right, I felt my face getting hot, so that means it's about to turn red. But no, I just wanted to review a couple of comments as folks is in the room. The first one I wanted to share is Sister Belinda, who in love critiquing, said in the comments, where is it? I just seen it. I wish Nia could see the screen, and maybe I'll throw it back over there. But she says she loves you publicly and personally. And yes, I just wanted to share that. Jamil's on talking about Jimmy about to cry. Shut up, Jamil. I'm not out. Anyway, Newt says hello as well. And Daniel says spill the beans. Nope, I'm not. And so over on Instagram, we have folks that are on as well. And they were talking about the industry and agreeing with you. Someone said, if I wanted to go eat at Fridays, no disrespect with Chili's, I would go there. The best part of high-end dining is the service. I'm voting no. And that has been the sentiment of a lot of people who are making comments here today. And Michelle is looking forward to being at Foxwoods too, coming to see you there. Free is on. Nia to go. What's up, Free? Covered by music in the building. And so we are going to get ready to wrap up, everybody. I think Pam is on. Says she loves you. Angie jumped on the Facebook and said, oh no, she was on Facebook before. People can't really get a clear understanding unless they have been in it.
Yeah. And
in it as an owner. Hats off to you. And Angie, I only disagree with you there in one at one level is that I joke. I started saying this actually this weekend. I'm hospitality adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
sis, you ain't got to be in it. You can see.
I'm gonna double down on my good sis Angie's point, and that's because
Okay.
empathy is one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, your ability to understand and imagine yourself in my shoes is one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
But the thing that makes you wake up and go clean up needle debris, you know what I mean, from in front of your business, whether and it's not necessarily your job, but you don't want that and you don't want your customers to receive that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the ability for you to go unplunge a toilet that what are the adults doing in your place, right? But that's what you've got to do. And the ability to say, I've got 2 call outs, but I've got a large catering order for somebody's repast that still has to get done. Right. No one else shows up for you in those moments sometimes. And that's okay, because this is what we've signed up to do. And so when you talk about just the regular strain of owning a business, then plus the extra pieces in a business that is so physical, I can appreciate everybody who empathizes. But again, if you ain't like the good sis who has lived it and showed up and did the double shifts all because of whatever that moment to get through it, I don't know that you can actually say that you got it and you feel it and you can really understand it.
And I'll say this as not even a compromise, but being adjacent to it, I think you understood the spirit and what I said.
No, I got it.
But being adjacent to it and what you just said,
yeah,
because you do see, what you defined was what I would versus what I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, Nia, I want to make sure we end on a good positive note with some Black joy. I'm trying to think of something to not get myself in trouble. Let me see. Where can I go a little bit? Nope, I won't do what Marv did to you the other day and have you serenade us out of the live. But I really appreciate you coming here today. I hopefully gained my was this better than the first one?
Well, I mean, this was amazing. I'm so glad that you had me here today. I'm so glad we were able to, talk a little shop. I think we need some more time.
Yes.
But
on that note,
I'll leave everybody with, please, if everyone should make it to the polls this election day. We're 20 days away.
Yeah. And we didn't go into a little bit, if you don't mind. And I know you got to run. Women in leadership, Black women, what's going on nationally? Thoughts there?
I mean, Black women are about to do what we always do, is do a little bit of cleanup, right? And I think that we always, we're spiritual folks, whom much is given, much is required. But I think we're just going to show up how we're supposed to, and whatever that looks like for anybody. But I think we're going to, we've got the state of the nation that we care about. I don't know what's. Jimmy's over here making faces.
No, because this is why I don't look at the comments. I'm sorry, but finish what you're saying. I'm going to tell you what Pam is in here talking about. And I don't think he was associated with this, but go ahead and finish.
Okay. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, vote like your life depends on it, because it absolutely does. And locally, again, when we're talking about the restaurants that you love, the people that work in those restaurants that you love, the people that own those restaurants that you love, do me a favor and vote no on ballot question 5.
Hold on. I clicked the wrong thing and I'm not messing up because this was good. I just want now y'all are not going to after dark this, but Pam, our wonderful Pam, I'm going to make sure I'm reading this right. Was there ever a Taco Tilted Tuesday? Is it a typo?
Taco.
Hold on, because I don't want you on screen by yourself when this is said. This is a question that someone, and I just know that there's a typo here.
Taco Tuesday.
Tilted is what Miss Pam meant to type there.
She knows exactly what she meant to type.
Okay.
We had a time, 6:04 back in the corner. We had a time.
Did Newt ever go? Because Newt's in here. Okay.
Newt was never invited.
Okay.
Not a bad
you
way.
About to no. But I'm about because.
But he didn't even have the baseline requirements to show up to Taco Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like, there's a word missing. You didn't even got the middle part.
So my impression was it was a place where folks like my boy Miguel may go to.
Oh, no, not like, well.
You had a requirement to.
Depends on the Tuesday. Depends on.
Today's Tuesday, y'all. Listen,
Right?
I got to get ready to let this woman get out of here. I got to get out of here as well. The last thing I want to say is Nia and I had the opportunity on Saturday, Friday. Was it Friday? Pam, when was your
Friday?
Friday. And we had the opportunity to, and she's going to be with us. Actually, I'm going to be with her next Monday, but I'm going to Pam's on next Monday. And so just want to celebrate her as well. All the women, Black women, brown women, women in general that are out there doing it and being business owners. And so Nia, I thank you. I'm glad, you said amazing. And so it's documented. And these people in here, UCB watchers, you get an hour and a half because it's 11:04. Don't forget we're with UCB this Saturday for UCB Talks at Hibernian Hall. And so we'll post more information about that. And we're out of here, everyone. We will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Dr. Thea James from Boston Medical Center will be with us to talk about a report that, and Pam said no typo. All right, I'm getting out the comments because y'all are in here acting up.
That's Pam in the cut.
And DL. Did you hear the verse he did? Were you there? Oh, I didn't get a chance to. I should play that right now. Oh. DL was cutting up the other night at Grace by Nia. Don't forget, every first Wednesday, you can see me at Grace by Nia as the host of Beyond Berkeley. Our next Wednesday there, and there's going to be all type of joy going on perfectly.
Yes.
Next Wednesday, November 5th, the first Wednesday, but you can go to Grace by Nia on Wednesday to get poetry. You can go to Grace by Nia any night from Tuesday to Sunday night, Sunday afternoon brunch.
Yes. And then brunch. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Tuesday through Sunday, Grace by Nia. And all right, I'm getting out of here because I'm starting to ramble. And again, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. with Dr. Thea James. Thank you for being with us and have a great day.